Hi everyone, do you remember this boat? Well, if not, just go in the video description and check out the links. They will lead you to some videos that show why and how I built this boat, and also how I installed the solar panels to create a system that pretty much offers me infinite range on that electric motor. Now recently the build video actually hit the 100,000 views. That's the first video on this channel with that many views. And it pretty much came out of nowhere too. Just check out the statistic on my YouTube analytics. For almost an entire year, nobody was watching the video. And honestly, I didn't change anything. I didn't change the thumbnail or anything else. So I have no idea why this is happening, but I'm not complaining. Now, considering the recent interest, I thought it would be a good idea to give you guys an update. The boat shows some wear and tear, and I learned a couple lessons, and I thought this could be really valuable information for someone who wants to copy the design. Alright, now let's get right into it. Now let's start with the inflatable pontoons. I get a lot of comments from people who are concerned about the durability. Let me tell you, those things are holding up just fine, and I'm not treating them very well, to be honest. I'm not afraid to pull them up on the shore over the rocks and sticks. I did order them with extra reinforcement on the bottom for that reason. It really would take a lot to puncture them, even if you would try on purpose. And let's not forget, I asked the factory to separate each pontoon in 3 different chambers, so we have 6 chambers altogether. Even if 1 or 2 would fail, you still have plenty to keep afloat. What I was more concerned of was UV damage, especially this year, because I left the boat pretty much the entire season in the water. But so far, no sign of damage, so we're good on that front too. Let's move on to the platform itself. There are no major issues to report here either. I mean, if you look really close, you can see the exterior grade Douglas fir plywood that I used started to check on the surface. That is completely normal for Douglas fir and expected. Not a real concern, and it should last for a very long time, especially since I stored a boat in the house during the winter. Now, some people ask how well the skateboard grip tape is holding up. Well, see for yourself. Not a single piece is missing yet, even though it is exposed to the sun and the rain and the weather all day long. So what I got here is the transom of the boat. This is the part that holds the motor. And if you look at the plywood block here that I laminated, you can see it started to crack. Now, considering how the dowels apply pressure on this block, this almost had to happen. This is 100% my fault. It would have been very easy to avoid if I would have laminated the block instead of vertical, horizontal. Now that's definitely something I will have to fix for next year. Other than that, the framing and the arches are holding up really well. The tarp, on the other hand, is a different story. Okay, so the shower curtain liner windows became brittle and broke in a heavy storm. So this is my second attempt. I replaced them with clear vinyl that is meant as tablecloth protector. You can buy this stuff very cheap in your local hardware store. I think I paid $8 for a 4x2 foot piece. And so far it is holding up pretty well. One of my main problems though is the duct tape isn't holding up too well. Now, I know this is not really a surprise. The heat of the sun is just messing with the glue, so everything is a bit stretched out, and on some spots it's even peeling off. I mean, after all, I got 2 seasons out of it, so I can't really complain, and it did cost me next to nothing considering that I used old recycled silage tarp for the whole thing. But for next year, I either have to do the same thing all over again, and which probably would take me half a day to cut and tape the tarp, and then I would get another 2 years out of it, or do something completely different that is a bit more permanent. Now, you probably noticed in this picture that the solar panels, the battery, and the motor are gone. Of course, there's a reason for that. Now, unfortunately, I ran into a couple problems with the motor. The very first problem I had was that this little lever here for the hinge assembly broke. Now, unfortunately, they made this out of plastic, which is, in my opinion, a poor choice. There's a lot of force you have to apply to pull the spring-loaded pin to disengage the lock for the hinge here. And this might be strong enough when you do the math on the computer, but in the real world, where factors like the UV light, the heat from the sun that can make plastic soft, or even the cold that can make plastic brittle, it's just not a good choice of material. I wish they would have made this out of metal. That being said though, I contacted the customer service, and it just took a couple days until I got a new part in the mail for free. So after all, that wasn't that big of a deal. Only a couple days later, this motor completely quit working on me out of nowhere and actually left me stranded on a lake. So I took the plastic cover off just to figure out what on earth is going on. And right away I got a whiff of burnt plastic. Well, that's never a good sign. And I found a burned up wire that is leading to the battery LED indicator. And after further investigation, I also figured that the shaft for the speed switch was completely seized up. It didn't want to move at all anymore, which I think then caused an overload on the small gauge wire for the battery indicator. Now, on top of all of that, the extendable handle didn't want to move in and out anymore. The plastic pin that guides the handle was broken. Now, all of that was really frustrating, to say the least. So I contacted the customer service from Newport Vessels again. They got back to me right away and said, look, you have to file a proper warranty claim with us, which really just took a couple minutes. You have to submit a couple pictures, explain your problem, answer a couple questions. And then it took only a couple hours until they got back to me, basically informing me that they sent me a brand new motor free of charge. Now that, my friends, is excellent customer service. As a matter of fact, it's the best customer service I ever experienced. The days where it's basic expectation that a company stands behind the product and the warranty, well, sadly, those days are over for the most part. Not with this company. This was really outstanding. And by the way, I'm not sponsored by them in any way. I'm just very impressed. Now, their product itself is obviously not bulletproof, but there's a couple of factors you have to consider. I mean, this motor was $400 Canadian, and you get a 62-pound thrust motor for it. That's actually really affordable for a very powerful motor that still runs on a 12-volt system. Also, I guarantee you, in the 2 years that this motor was on my boat, it was working harder than it would have with most people in 10 years. So there's that. And just the fact that Newport Vessels didn't leave me stranded with my problem, it just confirmed that this purchase was a really good choice. So if you're in the market for an electric motor, customer service is a thing you have to consider. Alright, so the overall conclusion of all of this is the core of the boat, the pontoons and the platform itself, are doing just fine after 2 seasons of heavy use. Now, there's a whole bunch of improvements though that I would like to do. For example, I'm not the biggest fan of that redneck looking tarp and its short life. And one thing I haven't even mentioned yet, even though I put in those windows, my vision while steering the boat is really impaired, especially to the left and right, and I really don't like that. So I do consider redesigning the entire superstructure. I have an entire winter to think about the changes. If you guys have any ideas for that, please let me know in the comment section. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We got a lot of new subscribers on this channel in the last couple of weeks, so let me thank you for your support there. It really means a lot to me and it is very motivating. Alright, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and I will see you on the next one. I just took the plastic cover off just to figure out what on earth is going on. It's the transom of the boat, and